Good evening, everyone. So, today I will be presenting something interesting. Let us start with our topic. Before that, let us see what we can understand from this short animated video.
Created using Powtoon.
So, let us bounce back to our topic. Okay. From this video, there are two messages that one can understand very clearly. That is, cleanliness is next to godliness, and we have to give out the waste material out of our body so that our body won't face any health problems as such. If it is not given out, what could be the problem? What repercussions body will face? That also we will be studying in few slides ahead. Let us start with our topic, that is excretion and osmoregulation. By showing the animated video, I wanted to make sure that what we are learning, the relevance and importance should also be understood. Now, what are the excretory organs that we can study? Whenever we talk about excretion, we usually think about intestines or maybe kidneys most of the time, but it's not true. There are many other organs that are involved in process of excretion as such. Now let us see what we can understand from this. First, let us understand what excretion is. Excretion is elimination of metabolic waste out of our body through the cell membrane. Waste products which are formed because of catabolism of glucose and amino acids which are present in our body, which we intake. The waste products are formed in a form of carbon dioxide and water, bile pigments, and nitrogenous wastes. These are some wastes which are formed, and inorganic salts. Further, we have to remove this out of our body. So, what organs perform which function? Let us understand that. Okay, the lungs are excretory organs. Why we can add lungs in excretory organs? Because they are responsible for removal of carbon dioxide, excessive carbon dioxide and hydrogen, and other volatile substances that are formed in our body. Now, the bile pigments and bilirubin and biliverdin are formed in liver by breakdown of hemoglobin. Bilirubin and biliverdin are formed because of the breakdown of hemoglobin. When hemoglobin breakdowns, these are some excretory substances which are formed. Now, let us move on to next, that is skin. Skin helps in elimination of urea and inorganic acids in our body, inorganic salts in our body. And sweating is one of the important aspect which everyone should be doing or should possess, because without sweating there would be problem of thermoregulation in our body. Now, next is kidney. Kidney plays a major excretory role in our body, as we can state that it's a vital excretory organ because it performs major features that are involved in excretion. That is, it eliminates nitrogenous waste out of our body. It maintains the water balance which is required for our body to regulate, and it also makes sure that hydrogen ions are in proper concentration. That is in isoionic state. Now, for rectum and all, obviously we need it for elimination in form of urine and stools. Now, after learning excretory organs, so let us move on to next mode, how exactly the organism can excrete, that is modes of excretion. There are three modes of excretion, that is a monotelism, ureotelism and uricotelism. The name itself gives away which form the stools will be given out of the organisms. So let us dig deep into what exactly this modes of excretion means. Okay, so now let's view different animals and organisms you can observe over here. So let us first observe into fish or aquatic animals. The excretory product which is formed is ammonia in case of aquatic animals and other organisms who give out waste in form of ammonia, that is ammonotelism. That's why the mode of excretion is called as ammonotelism. Ammonia is highly soluble in water. It gets easily dissolved in water. It can be excreted with the help of diffusion as well. So to make sure, ammonia should be in less concentration in body of organisms. It is harmful to the surrounding tissues. If it accumulates in body of animals, or if it accumulates in body of aquatic animals, it could prove harmful for them. So it should be removed out. Now, ammonia is highly toxic as such. So for elimination of ammonia, we need large quantity of water so that it could actually dissolve in water and get out of the body of the organisms. So, due to these reasons, the aquatic animals are ammonotelic in nature. Prefer ammonotelic mode of excretion. It's not that preference, it's the nature that sets the rules and which is very much apt for that organism. Next is ureotelism. The name itself gives away that the animals gives out the waste in form of urea. Urea is given out. So nitrogenous waste, as I talked about, so it is given out in form of urea. That's why we call it as uricotelism. Now, we we discussed earlier that sufficient amount of water is required for dissolving ammonia. So, as ammonia is highly toxic, it must be converted into less toxic form. And that conversion which happens inside the body of mammals, that happens in form from ammonia to urea. And urea can be stored in for some time and can be excreted at a lower rate through our urine. So this proves beneficial for terrestrial organisms such as mammals and some other amphibians as well. So how exactly this ammonia gets converted into urea? That is in case of you by undergoing the process called ornithine cycle. Now, next form of excretion, next mode of excretion that we will be discussing is uricotolism. Okay, so now the name itself gives away that it is excretion of uric acid. See, for the birds and avians, they are far more, they require less water for dissolution. So they can sustain for a longer period even without water. So water retention is more inside the organism, and they are minimizing the waste that is coming out. And that is in form of uric acid. So this how this uric acid is formed because of ionizing pathway. Now, so this animal, the what we say, the uric acid dissolution, it requires less amount of water. So this is the reason that they give out uric acid in their excretion. There is one more type of excretion that we can observe is guanotolism, that happens in arachnids, basically on in spiders and scorpions, like animals, in arachnids, it happens. Now, okay, now let us understand the human excretory system first. Let us dig into the structure and then we will study the function as in further slides. Now, as you can see, the human kidney we will be seeing that has comprised of pair of kidneys, that are right kidneys and left kidneys, have pair of ureters which is collected to a bladder and which further moves on to urethra or vestibule in females, urethra in males and vestibule in females. So when you observe this kidneys are red bean shaped. It appears to be like a red bean, and it is almost 10 centimeter long and 5 centimeter in width. Okay, so now let us understand how exactly the structure is. Just look into the structure. It looks exactly like a bean and it has a convex curves. Okay, and there is one what to say, there is one lateral margin in the medial surface that shows a notch over here. This notch region, we call it as hilus. We call it as hilus. What are the functions of kidneys? Now let us go on to understand what are the functions. Let us highlight some of the major functions of kidney. It performs function. It basically maintains the internal environment of an organism and extraction of waste products, that is nitrogenous waste products. It also plays an important part in sodium, potassium and chlorine ion concentration in blood. Now, regulation of pH, acid base balance is balanced by kidney, and regulation of comparison of blood with respect to salts and water content. Salts and water content balance is maintained solely by kidney. Now, let us understand how the blood supply happens over here. You can observe there are two types of blood supplying vessels, as you can observe, that is renal artery and renal vein. There should be one more, yeah, in this blue color. The renal artery supplies blood which enters through hilus, and there are smaller blood vessels that reaches till glomerulus, and there is renal vein from which the again the blood is circulated taken out. Now let us understand blood supply in kidney, that is what I was talking about. Renal artery divides into smaller capillaries and it reaches till glomerulus. So now the blood is taken in with the help of renal artery, And what happens is the renal vein carries blood away from the uriniferous tubule. The motion of blood from artery to vein, that exactly happens over here. So this is the structure of kidney, how exactly kidney looks like, and what are the functions we did discuss till here. Now let us understand the LS of kidney. Each kidney is covered with semi-fatty tissue called adipose capsule. See, this adipose capsule or adipose tissue which we talk about, this basically is there surrounding the vital organs that basically helps in prevents mechanical shocks. Okay. Now, outer covering of this capsule is made up of tough connective tissue. It is made up of connective tissue and this region we call it as renal fascia. This region, as you can observe over here. Now, outer renal cortex. Now, kidney shows two regions. Though when you observe the kidney as a whole, LS section in a whole, it is divided into two regions, that is renal cortex. This region, this would be more visible, clearly visible in this diagram. This region we call it as renal cortex and this region we call it as renal medulla. Further, in renal cortex, it is the outermost region of the kidney. Okay, renal medulla. It is lighter in color and divided into a number of pyramidal regions. As you observe over here, these are the pyramidal regions which I was mentioning earlier. The column of Bertini, you can see it over here, which is present. It is the renal column of Bertini is a part of cortex. It's a part of cortex as it is present in white region, continues inside the medulla between the pyramids. It is present between the pyramids. Now, the renal sinus slash pelvis, it's also called pelvis as pelvis also, that is this green region, that is pelvis of kidney. So, the ureter is connected to it. In this diagram, it will be more clear. Renal pelvis is connected to ureter. Now, the pair of narrow ducts each coming out of kidneys through hilus. If you see from hilus, it is emerging out and it is in a pair. You can just see from one view, that's why it is appearing one. It's pair. Now, they carry urine from kidneys. Their major function is to carry urine from the kidney to urinary bladder to peristaltic contractions. Urinary bladder. Let us observe what a urinary bladder is. This is urinary bladder. What does it do? It is a pear-shaped structure having thick muscular wall. Thick muscular wall. Why? There would be pressure that would be exerted by ureter when the liquid is flowing down and reaching urinary bladder. To prevent any muscular damage, the walls of urinary bladder are quite thick. Now, the further, what are its use? Bladder stores urine temporarily, temporary storage we say. So that is the major function. What amount how much of urine it can store? It can store around 500 to 1 liter of urine. So we should be very careful. Whenever you feel like going to washroom, you should go to washroom, should not stop it. In females, the urethra is relatively short. This region is short 4 centimeters, okay, and it opens in front of vaginal opening and it passes through in vestibule. And in vestibule in case of females, and in males it is longer since it passes through penis, that is it's 20 centimeter long. Now, what next part we will be studying about is nephron. So, what is nephron? Kidney produces urine by its microscopic function called nephrons. Let us magnify the nephron which we will be studying. Now, as I said, there are major regions which this nephron is divided into. First, let us observe into that. That is PCT, proximal convoluted tubule, DCT, distal convoluted tubule, collecting duct, loop of Henle. This region we call it as loop of Henle. This is descending loop and this is ascending loop. Descending loop means getting down. Ascending loop means it's going up. Now, next is Descending loop, okay. Collecting tubule, okay. This much is the major structures. Let us understand what are the functions of this. Okay, as I said, the blood goes in the Bowman capsule, the blood flows inside the glomerular filtrate. Now, what exactly? It passes through first proximal convoluted tubule, and then from there it goes to loop of Henle, where water removal happens. Water is given out, and here salt is given out. Further, reabsorption of salt takes place in distal convoluted tubule region. How much salt is required and how much water is required, that reabsorption takes place in distal convoluted tubule, and then it further goes on to cortex region and outer medulla, where again water is given out, and water retention, urea and all such inorganic components which are harmful for human body is given out. Now, urine formation. How exactly urine formation takes place? Okay, let us understand this, what exactly happens here. First, through arteriole, the water goes in, and what exactly happens? Let us understand urine formation now. So, as I was talking about, first, it is divided into three steps, that is ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption, and tubular secretion. So, let us understand things in parts. Okay, so first, in ultrafiltration stage, that takes place in Malpighian body in Bowman's capsule. Now, glomerulus and Bowman's capsule act as a filtering unit over here. So, I won't talk about the physical aspects over here. Let us just directly understand what function it does. The exact filtration, the substances that it is actually porous, semi-permeable in nature. So it selectively allows the substances to pass through it. Now, this unit which we use for this is EFP, that is effective filtration pressure, which is very much important for substances to pass through the pores. Now, the hydrostatic pressure that cause is 15 mmHg. Now, what exactly does it? What the composition of filtrate that is formed is more or less similar to that of body fluid. It is blood plasma except proteins. That means it is a deproteinized plasma that allows in glucose, amino acid, salts. These all things are filtered out over here in this region. Next region, selective reabsorption happens. By comparing the rate of production of filtrate that is formed previously, 99% of filtrate is reabsorbed. That is, water retention takes place in a more effective manner. Now, let us understand what happens further. That is, water is reabsorbed by osmosis, by the method of osmosis in proximal and distal convoluted tubule, and in loop of Henle the salts are getting retained back. So PCT pumps out glucose and amino acid. As you can observe here, glucose and amino acids are given out, and ions such as sodium and potassium are also given out. Now, urea is reabsorbed because urea molecule is very small and tubules are partially permeable. As I said, urea is kind of miss over here, but still it can pass through the pores. Tubular secretion, tubular secretion. Tubular cells do not synthesize any material and add the filtrate of urine. What exactly happens over here is, now the balancing thing happens over here. The aldosterone from adrenaline gland maintains the sodium ion concentration. That how it happens we will be seeing in next effect. Next slide. This is the aldosterone effect that happens over here. Now, abnormal substances which are found in blood are also secreted in urine. The antibiotics like penicillin, iodine containing compound, and all such things are secreted out in urine. We do take a lot amount of medicines sometimes. What will happen if it gets accumulated? So to remove that, this mechanism proves to be efficient. Next, what are the functions of kidneys? Let us understand that. Blood with waste, blood without waste. That means the blood is being completely purified over here. Regulation of bone mineral metabolism. As I said, iron concentration is regulated by kidney. So it is directly uh, proportional to the bone strength of our body. Regulation of red blood cells. RBC regulation is also important. As I said, pH, it also acts in regulation of pH. That is, it is influence on pH. That is why blood is neutral because of kidney. Regulation of blood pressure regulation, that means vasoconstriction and vasodilation is also regulated by kidney. So what are the warning signs of a kidney failure? That is extreme tiredness. You will feel always tired. You will feel vomiting, nauseous, confusion or trouble concentrating in one thing. Your hands and legs might swell. That condition we call it as edema. You won't have proper intake of food. Cramps in muscle spasms, sorry. Dry or itchy skin. When you have a dry skin, you should make sure that you drink a lot amount of water. Peeing more often, that means you go to washroom in a very short interval of times. Now, next, we will be talking about some of the kidney problems. Acute kidney injury, AKI also we can, you know, we can tell full form of AKI is acute kidney injury. It's also called as acute renal failure. What happens exactly is kidney loses its function in this case, and urine formation also reduces. That condition we call it as oligouria. So what happens exactly in this condition? What happens is you produce very less amount of urine, and in children less than 1 ml per kg per h in infants. Okay, so what happens exactly is urine formation itself stagnates in this case. An underlying cause which could be identified to treat arrest the progress and dialysis may be the necessary bridge to the time gap required for treating these fundamental causes. These are some of the problems that one can observe in acute kidney injury. Chronic kidney disease. What exactly happens? The name itself gives away. That means it will last for a long period of time until death and may develop slowly and initially. Slowly, the problem will start and it will be irreversible thing. That means it will not cure as such. The condition you can stabilize but not completely eradicate from an individual. You can see the difference between the normal kidney and a diseased kidney over here. Now, let us move on to the next. Let us see what is this, that is dialysis thing, human dialysis. When kidney is completely not functioning properly, that means it is individual is suffering either from kidney injury or it could be a chronic kidney disease. So artificial kidney is used. That means it is a Greek terminology, dissolution, dia, and means what? Kidney has lost its function, so that function is being carried out by hemodialyzer, where filtration takes place. Blood filtration takes place externally, and it's quite a painful process. Dialysis may be used for people those are acute disturbance in kidney. For acute problem in kidney, for that also it is used. If more problem an individual is facing and this method proves to be useless, then only the patients go for kidney transplantation. Next problem which we will be talking about is kidney stones. So we have heard about kidney stones a lot. So what happens exactly? The kidney stones get settled in kidney region, that is either it will be there in urinary tract or either it will be there in kidneys itself. So for this, there are some special terminology, that is nephrolithiasis and urothialasis. In urolithiasis, the stones are present in the urinary tract. So there are several type of kidney stones which are formed. It could be crystals, type of crystals which they have consist of. Majority is calcium oxalate, and there are some calcium phosphate stones as well. More now, how one can remove it if the stone size is less? Doctors tend to doctors ask patients to drink a lot amount of water. This is the reason that this problem turns up in first place. Now, what are the precautions which we can take? Drink a lot amount of water and make sure that you are being hydrated properly in sunny days. Now, kidney transplant, as I said, when kidney is a complete failure, the individual might die. To avoid the situation, the kidney is being transplanted from a donor. The person who is willingly giving his or her kidney, the donor kidney is transplanted in the body of recipient, and the functionalities are observed. The individual is kept under observation. So this is how kidney transplant is done. Now there are a regulation of kidney functions that exactly happens over here. First, let us understand what exactly regulation of kidney function means. Functioning of kidneys is regulated by hypothalamic region, juxtaglomerular filtrate, that is JGA apparatus, JGF, JGA, and heart. Heart plays an important role as well. So hypothalamus, please remember these players. Now, what exactly happens? High concentration of body fluid. If body fluid is more, it activates osmoreceptors to release antidiuretic hormone ADH from neurohypophysis. ADH is released from neurohypophysis. ADH increases the permeability of renal tubules. Renal tubules permeability is increased so that it could absorb more amount of water. This prevents excessive loss of water from the body water loss it will prevent. Increased volume of body fluid suppresses osmoregulators, thus ADH secretion is suppressed. ADH secretion is as well suppressed. This is how the mechanism works. So let us first observe JGA. What is this JGA? That is juxtaglomerular apparatus. A fall in GFR, that is glomerular filtrate rate or glomerular blood pressure, activates JG cells to release renin. It will release the renin. Renin converts angiotensinogen, which is inactive form, to angiotensin 1, that is activated form. Angiotensin converting enzyme, that is ACE, which is secreted by lungs, converts angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. This angiotensin 2 in turn acts as vasoconstrictor. Vasoconstriction means it will reduce the surface area of the blood vessels. If you reduce the surface area of blood vessel, what will happen? It will increase the resistance and it will trigger the production of what happened? It increases the blood pressure. Obviously, the blood pressure increases and GFR rate will also increase. An increase in blood flow to the atria of the heart can cause secretion in atrial neuritic factor. ANF rate increases. When ANF increases, it causes vasodilation. This constriction happens that relaxes the vessels and decreases the blood pressure, which causes renin angiotensin mechanism. Renin angiotensin mechanism balances out. This is and what happens? High blood volume. If the blood volume gets when the blood volume gets high, what happens? It's responsible for increase in water excretion. Water excretion, which happens due to excretion of sodium ions in urine. It is also known as natriuresis. Now, let us understand what exactly happens. Increased sodium ion content. If the sodium ion content is increased, If the sodium ion content is increased, excretion results in decline in aldosterone. Aldosterone drops down. Hormone factor which stimulates natriuresis, that is antagonistic to aldosterone. Aldosterone drops down when it rises and promotes sodium ion and water excretion in urine. Sodium ion excretion happens is then atrial natriuretic factor or hormone, that is ANF. The atria of heart have been shown to produce ANF hormone. Heart produces ANF hormone and basically responsible for lowering of blood volume and blood pressure by promoting salt and water excretion in urine. See, the heart is also involved in regulation, but majority of the enzymes that acts upon takes place in kidney. So that means plays an important role in regulation of kidney functions. As I mentioned earlier, not only the uh, kidney is involved or intestines involved, there are other factors that are involved in excretion of waste material out of our body. Waste should be given out of our body. If it remains stagnant in our body, it could cause a lot amount of problems. So by concluding this session, we did talk about a lot of excretion, lot of organs that are that aids in excretion. What are the modes of excretion? All together, we understood what exactly excretion and osmoregulation is in this chapter. Thank you for listening. I hope the lecture was fruitful. Thank you.